Let's be real. Our digital devices are basically extensions of ourselves at this point. But what happens when that connection starts to feel more like a dependency? Well, in this explainer, we're going to break down the science of why our phones are so ridiculously hard to put down, and more importantly, what you can actually do to take back control of your own attention. So let's dive in.
Okay, I want to start with a question, and I want you to be honest with yourself. You're just sitting there, maybe working, maybe watching TV, and you feel it, that buzz in your pocket. So you reach for your phone, but surprise, there's nothing there. No call, no text, it was a ghost.
If that has ever happened to you, you are definitely not alone. This isn't just some weird quirk, it actually has a name. It's a recognized clinical symptom called phantom vibration syndrome. And get this, a staggering 89% of college students have experienced it. It's a physical sign that our brains have literally been rewired to constantly expect a digital ping. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at the slot machine in your pocket. Then we'll cover the toll of having an always-on mind. After that, the good news, the science of recovery. We'll give you a practical digital detox toolkit. And finally, we'll talk about shifting your mindset from pathology to agency.
All right, first up, the slot machine in your pocket. This is so important to understand. Your phone is not a neutral tool, not even close. It has been meticulously engineered to tap into your brain's most ancient reward circuits. And the way it does it is surprisingly old school. The secret sauce is something called variable ratio reinforcement. I know, it sounds super academic, but the idea is actually simple. Just think about a slot machine in Vegas. You pull the lever, but you have no idea if you're going to get a reward. It's that unpredictability that keeps you glued to the machine, pulling that lever again and again. Your phone works on the exact same principle. Every time you check it, you might have a new like, you might have a new comment, or you might have absolutely nothing. And hey, don't just take my word for it. This quote is from Tristan Harris, a guy who used to be a design ethicist at Google. He says the pull to refresh feature was literally inspired by slot machines. This isn't some happy accident. This addictive design is 100% intentional. So here's why that uncertainty is so powerful. Our brains are wired to go nuts for it. A predictable reward, like your salary hitting your bank account every 2 weeks, well, that's satisfying, sure, but it doesn't create a compulsion. But an unpredictable reward? That unleashes a much bigger flood of dopamine, the feel-good chemical. It's the anticipation of the reward, not the reward itself, that creates this addictive loop that keeps us checking and checking and checking. And there's another sneaky trick at play here, the removal of what designers call stopping cues. Think about reading a book. You get to the end of a chapter, that's a natural moment to pause, to put the book down. But social media feeds, they have the infinite scroll, which is specifically designed to eliminate any natural endpoint, keeping you in this sort of passive, trance-like state of consumption for as long as possible.
So we're hooked. But what's the big deal? What's the actual cost of this always-on mind? Well, it turns out this constant stimulation from our digital slot machines has some really serious consequences, both psychologically and physically. Researchers have actually identified a whole range of issues they call digital distress. We've already talked about phantom vibration syndrome, but it also includes things like anxiety and something called nomophobia, which is the literal clinical fear of being without your phone. And of course, it includes depression and some really major sleep disruption. You know, one of the biggest reasons for that link to depression is a psychological trap called upward social comparison. Basically, on social media, we are constantly comparing our own messy, complicated, real lives to the perfectly curated, filtered highlight reels of everybody else. And doing that over and over again, it can't help but fuel these intense feelings of inadequacy and low self-worth. And then there's our sleep. Oh man, our screens are basically launching a two-pronged attack on it every single night. First, there's the physical attack. The blue light from the screen suppresses melatonin. That's the hormone that tells your body, hey, it's time to sleep. Second, there's the psychological attack, the content itself, a work email that stresses you out, a video that gets you all hyped up, keeps your brain on high alert. The result? It takes you longer to fall asleep, and you get less of that deep, restorative sleep that your body and brain desperately need. Just how deep does this dependency really go? Well, in one incredible study, researchers asked students to go just 24 hours without their devices. Over half of them couldn't even do it. And the ones who did, they described the experience using the exact same language you hear from people battling addiction. They reported feeling irritable, lonely,
and intensely anxious. This shows us that the withdrawal symptoms aren't just in our heads, they're a real physiological response. Okay, I know, that was a lot of bad news, but now it's time for the pivot. Let's talk about the science of recovery, because, and this is the most important takeaway, our brains are not permanently broken. They have an absolutely remarkable capacity to heal themselves. The key concept here is neuroplasticity. It's this incredible, almost magical ability of your brain to reorganize itself by forming new connections. Think of it like this. Your brain isn't hardware, it's software. And when you intentionally step away from all that constant digital noise, you give your brain the chance to weaken those compulsive pathways and strengthen the ones that are responsible for things like deep focus and sustained attention. And these benefits aren't just a vague feeling. They are real and they are measurable. Studies show that when people do a digital detox, their levels of cortisol, that's our main stress hormone, drop significantly. At the same time, their ability to focus goes way up, and so does their overall life satisfaction. This is a real biochemical change happening inside of you. Now, here's one of the coolest parts of this recovery. When we're constantly consuming stuff, scrolling, watching, reading, we suppress a really crucial part of our brain called the default mode network. This network is only active when our minds are wandering, when we're daydreaming or reflecting or just planning for the future. A detox is like hitting a giant reset button on the system, and it allows all that creativity and deep self-reflection to come flooding back. Okay, so you get the why, but what about the how? How do we actually do this? Let's open up the Digital Detox Toolkit and look at some practical, evidence-based strategies you can start using today. A fantastic way to start is with a structured 30-day challenge. It's all about gradual change. So week 1 is just about awareness. You track your usage, see how bad it is, and you turn off all those pointless notifications. In week 2, you start reducing. Delete those time-sucking apps you know you don't need. Week 3 is about setting boundaries, like making your bedroom a sacred tech-free zone. And then finally, in week 4, you mindfully bring technology back in, but as a tool that serves you, not a habit that controls you. Willpower can only get you so far. The real pro move is to design your environment for success. One awesome trick is to set your phone to grayscale. It instantly makes all those colorful, shiny apps look way less appealing. Another huge one, buy a $5 alarm clock. Seriously, this lets you kick your phone out of the bedroom for good, which breaks that awful cycle of scrolling right before bed and first thing in the morning. And look, when you need some extra muscle, you can actually use technology to fight technology. There are some incredible apps out there to help you. Freedom is amazing because it blocks distractions across all your devices at once. Cold turkey is for when you need to get serious. It has a frozen turkey mode that can literally lock you out of your entire computer. And Opal is a beast for your phone. Its deep focus mode, once you start it, cannot be canceled. All right, finally, let's talk about maybe the most important part of all of this. It's about shifting our entire mindset. It's about moving from a place of pathology, feeling like a victim of our tech, to a place of agency. And this really is the ultimate point. This isn't about becoming some kind of hermit who rejects all technology. That's just not practical or even desirable. The real goal here is to cultivate what you could call digital agency. That's the ability to use these incredibly powerful tools on your terms, to serve your goals and your values, instead of just being a passive user whose attention is constantly being hijacked and sold. In the end, it all comes down to this one simple idea. We don't need to get rid of our technology, we just need to get back in the driver's seat. The goal isn't rejection, it's mastery. So the only question left is, are you ready to take back control?